Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today, I want to talk about these solar-powered watches that I have. This is just some of all the solar-powered watches I have. All the ones I have are from Casio and or GShock, and or Edifice and or Oceanus, but they're all Casio models, right? All using the tough solar. And so I've reached a point where some of you might say, Greg, you have too many watches. And I say, too many? Well, define too many. Too many for what? I don't know. But I've run into a situation where I think I needed a little bit of help from this thing right here. Whoa, look how bright that is. It is a watch charger for solar-powered watches. Now, in the past, I might have said some disparaging things about a device like this because I figured, what's the point? All I have to do is put these near a window and open the blinds, and they'll get some sunlight, and that'll be enough to keep them going. And why should I spend $40 for a light that's going to do that? It seems like that's not a good use of my funds. For $40, I could buy, a couple of these watches or something like that. But what I've found is, first of all, the prices have gone down on devices like this. And also, I've reached a point where I have so many watches that it's difficult to kind of rotate them through daily wear. Okay. In the work that I do, I'm often just grabbing equipment from cases and I'm just afraid that I'm going to bang my watch against the wall or against a cabinet or things like that. And so I tend to have just a couple of watches that I wear sort of as beater watches 5 days a week. And during the other 2 days of the week, I do my best to wear all the rest of the collection. But, I've got, what is it? I don't know the exact number right off the top of my head, but it's about 150 or more watches right now total. So the challenge becomes how to keep them all charged, the ones that are solar powered. In the past, I have said, it's all right. You don't have to go out of your way. As long as these watches are exposed to normal lighting conditions every day, that'll be enough to keep them going. But now it's kind of a management problem. I have these watches in cases. I might have a tendency to stack cases on top of one another, multiple cases. And so, of course, then any case that's not at the top of the stack, it'll be like leaving it in a drawer, stored in a drawer. And I've made fun of people who keep their solar-powered watches stored in a drawer. So I don't want to be that guy. So anyway, I've decided to enlist the help of a solar-powered watch charger thing. So first of all, let me show you what I got. This one I just found on Amazon, Eco Watch Charger, just an expensive something made in China and pretty simple. It's got some LEDs right there, and it's got a little silicone cap there you put on there so that then you can take your watch and just set it right on top like that, face down on there. And there you go. Very simple to use, very simple to operate. This one came with a couple of extra little silicone holders there. This one is a little bit smaller diameter there. So depending on what watch face you're using, you want a big open one for a larger watch face, or that one a little bit smaller. Or if you got a GShock square, they've come up with this kind of square one there. I've found that you don't really need to use these other two. If you want, just leave this one on there. And even if you have something like a GShock square where there might be some light leaking out from around the edges, that's okay. Unless it bothers you, then you can get something that fits a little bit better. But it's just a light. These are LEDs. Now I noticed the first one I ever saw of this, the brand name was CoolFire, and I think they still sell those, and that was like $40. And I thought, that's a little much for what it does. It's just, the components of what would normally be just kind of a cheap flashlight. They're just aimed straight up in a little device that's made for a watch. So why should that cost $40? And from what I could see, looks like the CoolFire brand or whatever is the successor to that brand, now they're about $30, maybe $28, somewhere in that range. And this one was attractive to me just because, well, it was a little bit cheaper. And it looks like it's very simple. Doesn't have to be super expensive. This one was like $15. And so I just, again, got it from Amazon. Another thing I like about this particular model is that this button here allows you two settings. You've got a high setting and a low setting. And also, it says it's like 0.7 watts of power for the high setting and like 0.33 watts for the low setting. So again, very little amount of electricity being used here. Still, I thought paying for a device and paying for electricity, even a very small amount of electricity, did seem kind of silly when you could just set this out in the sun and get the same effect. But again, I've changed my ways a little bit on that thinking. And I do get a lot of comments from people all over the world, especially people maybe in the far northern parts of Europe, other northern parts of the world, who will tell me, yeah, you know, solar power is great, but in the winter time up here in the far north, we just don't get enough sunlight. So I need to have something like this. And I understand that. And I also understand now that if I have a very large collection of watches, maybe I need a little bit of help keeping them all charged. Another thing I like about this particular device, again, just a simple button there for press it once for high setting, press it again to go down to the low setting, and the button lights up. So when it's the high setting, it's kind of a blue light there on the button, green light for the low setting, and of course off for off. And also the other thing I like about this, whether you put it in the high setting or the low setting, once you set it up, it will automatically turn off after 8 hours. So I like that. I like timers on things, especially something that you kind of set it and walk away for many, many hours. It's kind of comforting for me to know that if I forget about it, it's going to turn itself off anyway. Not that this is particularly dangerous, because you know, these LEDs, they don't get hot. Well, they do get a little bit warm. On the high setting, they do get a little bit warm. On the low setting, just barely warmer than room temperature. So it's very safe. But still, I like the fact that it turns off after 8 hours. So, okay, not much more to show you other than, you know, it comes with this charging cable. It's a USB charging cable, USB-C on this end, USB-A on the other end. Just plug it in, and there you go. Let's see. I was concerned about the heat. Does it get too hot? So what I did was I tried this ProTrek watch here, and I've got another ProTrek with the same features on it. There's a thermometer in there. So I thought I'll just stick a watch with a thermometer built into it on top of this and see what happens. What I discovered was at the low setting, it got up to about 89 degrees. So not too hot there on the low setting. When I had it on the high setting, the maximum temperature I measured on a ProTrek watch was about 102, 103 degrees Fahrenheit. So roughly at the highest setting, you know, the most heat that this generates, it would heat up the watch to about 103 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not that bad. Obviously, if you left this in a car, you know, on the inside of a car, all the windows closed in the summertime, you can get well above 140 or 150 or I don't know how high, depending on the car. So for this to be heated up to 103 maximum, you know, when I left it on for like an hour at high setting, I figured that's pretty good. But I still prefer to put it on the low setting. You know, somewhere around 90 degrees seems like that's not at all dangerous to the watch. Another thing I noticed with the CoolFire one or the other brands that I've seen advertised, one thing that they say is a feature of this is that it does not put out damaging UV light rays. Now, the ultraviolet or UV light is basically what causes all the damage from sunlight, whether it's damaging your skin. It's the UV light that does that, so you might want to wear sunscreen, you know, to keep that from happening. Or it's the UV light that might damage the paint on your car or your lawn furniture, or if you got a piece of canvas out there covering up, you know, some outdoor gear, and that canvas after a long period of time really gets deteriorated, fragile, and faded and all that. It's the UV light that's causing that. So it is a bit of a selling point that one of these I saw advertised said, you know, no UV light. So it won't overheat your watches, or it won't, you know, fade the colors on the face of your watch. Well, that's great. No UV light. So one of them, I think it was maybe just one, had that as part of their advertising. No UV light. But when I looked it up, you know, LEDs tend to not give up any UV light anyway. Or if it is, it's very, very small amount. So even though this one did not say specifically, hey, it doesn't output UV light, because it's LED, it probably doesn't put out any significant amount of UV light anyway. So I was happy to spend half the amount of money, about $15 what I paid for this one. And I loved the off timer. I loved the two settings, high and low on the light. And now all I have to do is start charging up all these watches. So I've got some that are just down to like a medium charge. I can tell on a watch like this, it shows me right here on the watch face. There's an L, M, and H for the charge indicator right there, and right now it's on medium. So this one could use an extra boost. Now, a watch like this is GShock Square, and most of my GShock Squares that are solar powered, they have a little low, medium, and high battery indicator, but these Bluetooth-enabled versions do not. So the only way you really know the battery state is by using the Bluetooth app, and it shows you on the app. So this one needs a charge. You wouldn't necessarily notice that if you don't use the app all the time. So I can put this one on there and let it sit there for, I don't know, 8 hours, and it'll probably top that off just fine. And this right here, also again, this is an Edifice watch that is tough solar, but in order to get the battery, the state of the battery charge, you need to put this on the Bluetooth app. This one happens to be very, very low at the moment, so I need to put this one on the charger. I really like these inexpensive solar-powered, just Casio watches. Very simple, nice diver-style watches, very inexpensive, solar-powered, and the only way you can tell that, and they're not synchronized. I'm sorry. Usually I synchronize my watches before I make a video. The only way you can tell that the battery is low is that the second hand starts ticking a double tick every 2 seconds instead of this nice steady 1 tick per second. So before that happens, you can just stick this on the charger, or stick it in the window, or open the blinds. There are a lot of ways to do this. This is an Edifice watch that I've really enjoyed. This does not connect to Bluetooth, but there's a little battery meter down there, low, medium, and high. So on this particular model, if I push and hold this button for a couple seconds, it shows me the battery strength there is only at medium on this guy. So I'm going to have to put this on the charger as well. Or, if I don't get around to it, I can try setting this near a window with the blinds open and see how that works as well. But I guess what I'm saying is it's nice to have both options, to use natural light or even just everyday lighting in an office or a home. Just the regular lighting that you have around is usually enough to keep these guys going. Or, you do have now the optional help from this guy here. Now, just last Christmas, I gave you my heart. No, I got this watch last Christmas, and this one is one that is solar assisted with the charging. So there's actually a charging clamp that goes with this guy, so that it has solar cells there, but it uses a lot of electricity for all the functions that it has, including heart rate and oxygen sensors on the back there. So since it uses so much of electricity, I found that once, maybe twice a week, I have to put this charging clamp on it, and then I plug this end of the charging clamp cable into a USB, and after an hour or so, it'll charge that up pretty well. But I wondered, could this be adequately charged on here? So what I did was I wore this watch for a few days, and I got it down to about a half charge. There were 2 bars out of 4 on this little battery gauge right there. And so then last night I stuck it on this charger for 8 hours, and it went up 1 bar. So yeah, it can kind of confirm my suspicions that this watch uses a lot of power. And even though it would be kind of a hassle to have to leave it on for many, many hours on here to charge it up instead of using the charging clamp, that is an option. So I don't know. If I had the kind of job where maybe I'm just outdoors all the time and exposed to lots of light all the time, I wonder if this thing would remain at a high charge indefinitely. But with the nature of my work and my living, it does not. So I guess the good news is that this charger here could keep this guy going, but it would take a lot of time leaving it on the charger, maybe every night for the whole week to keep it topped off. I don't know. But so yeah, just if you have this watch here, keep the charging cable clamp handy on that. But if you get in a real bind, maybe you can get a little help from this guy here. So once again, a quick look at my Amazon listing here, about $29.99 for, I think this is the same CoolFire version that was initially released. So you could get that for about $30 if you want to. Looks like there's a couple options there that might cost a little bit less. So if that's what you want to try, you're welcome to that. But here I've gone down and I've purchased, it was this, let's see, this one here that I just purchased, and it was only $14.99, and I'm really happy with it. So if you want to try that one, I would say, I think you'll be happy with that. If you want to try these other ones, it's totally up to you. But obviously there are some other options besides the one that I bought if you're looking at Amazon for a solar-powered watch charger, which is really just an array of LEDs configured in such a manner that you can pop the watch on there face down and walk away. And for me, I like that I can walk away, and it's got an off timer to turn it off automatically. All right. I hope that helps you out. I will stop making fun of people who decide they need artificial light to charge up their solar-powered watches. You know what? It's a big world and we can all get along. And I'm going to try this out, and there are times when this is going to be exactly what I need. And this watch is desperately in need of being charged. So I'm going to stop this video and get around to doing that. And I will promise you there are more videos coming, so please stay tuned for another episode of the Good Timekeeping Show.